once you've done a lot of the deep work with ayahuasca, you can do ceremony after ceremony, and there's not really much personal coming up anymore. That's when you're really ready to train and focus on helping others.
You are harming others out of ignorance, out of thinking that you are some superior person. Therefore, people put yourself into your care and you are not in that position to provide that.
You go back to the ceremony and you get the exact same message. To me, is a good sign of you didn't really do your homework. That's a missed opportunity, because if you do your homework, you go back, you'll get different insights, different lessons. You progress further.
It amplifies both of our aspects, the shadow and the light. If you don't deal with your shadow aspects, you don't do that shadow work, that integration work, those aspects will be magnified. Hello and welcome back to our podcast, Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy. And I'm back here with Alex, who you already know from several previous episodes. And today we're going to talk about the pitfalls of the integration, especially relating to Mother Ayahuasca, and just seeing in our practice, like lots of people going through this type of journey. We have some couple of points that we think is worth sharing with you guys. So to make sure that you make the most out of your experience and you are aware what you're going into and what you need, to take that best out of your experience. And what are those red flags or possible pitfalls, areas of vulnerability where you most likely to fall off or sidetrack or reverse back into your old habits. So I'm excited to dive into that. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, thank you, Nina. Nice to see you again.
And yeah, I'm curious to know what you think. So let us know in the comments about your thoughts as we are going along with our conversation. So I think it's worth talking about it because integration is such a huge part of the process. And for me personally, it was the part where really the magic happened. I mean, I had, moments in ceremonies that were outstanding moments or meaningful moments or something like that. But really to create change in my life, to create positive change that changes things for real, and not just, in the ceremony, that's what happened in the integration. And I think that if you are not aware of this, that you're most likely to skip this part of the process, right? So Alex, what do you think? What is kind of the most common mistake that people commit, in the integration process?
Well, I think probably the most common is a drive to go back to ceremony immediately. I had this wonderful experience. It was so powerful. I loved it. I want to come back right away. And certainly my first time drinking, my first retreat, I had that same feeling. I was like, I just want to keep doing this, and I want to come back immediately. But that isn't necessarily the best way to go. And it doesn't, you shortcut that integration process that's really important. And I think it's also a little bit of kind of Western culture of more is better, drink more, higher doses, drink as much as possible, keep coming back. But I think what you said, you put it beautifully, that the magic really happens in the integration, because the whole point of this is to improve our lives, not to, just have a wonderful ceremony. Otherwise, it's just kind of entertainment. The point is to have a transformation, healing, growth, learning in our lives, and to live our lives differently and to change as people. That's what medicine is all about. So if you're not giving that space or time, you can really short circuit that integration that is important. And I usually recommend people give it at least a few months. Even if you feel very called to come back, give it a few months, give it some space, give it some time. And people who don't do that, I have seen this, who like turn into regular drinkers. It's easy to have that become your life, or people kind of get lost down, especially in the Amazon. They want to move down there and diet all the time and drink, and they're not really integrating their experience, and it can easily turn into a way of avoiding dealing with their actual life, and that's where spiritual bypass happens. And so yeah, really important to give yourself that time.
Yes, that's so true. It's very true what you said, that a lot of people feel called to go back over and over again to sit in ceremony, and we talk often about that ayahuasca afterglow, that most people get that type of high
Yeah.
about 4 to 6, 8 weeks after, and that's normally the period when people feeling interestingly the call to go back for another ceremony, right? And that's the point when you start to go into that shadow work that you're talking about. And yeah, you need to make a conscious choice and decision to do that, because we naturally, instinctually don't want to go there, of course. So it's funny that I was reflecting back on my experience, and it was the opposite, because my first dieta in Peru, I didn't want, like, after 3 ceremonies, I was like, no, no more. No, take it away from me. Take me home to mommy. I don't know. It was something very intense for me, and I definitely didn't feel, that I want to have more. But after my dieta, in my process, before I understood anything about integration, I did commit this mistake that you're talking about, that, oh, I don't feel good. And my expectation is to feel great and everything will be
Right.
perfect, happily ever after. And I don't feel that. So I need more of this. I need more medicine. I need more ceremony, because I didn't get that yet, And that's a false assumption, that I made, because I didn't understand how to work with this plant spirit. And this got to a point for me personally, when within a short period of time I had many ceremonies, and the lack of integration resulted in like a breakthrough breakdown kind of situation, kind of like a dissolution of identity or spiritual emergence, that could have turned very easily into a spiritual emergency if I don't have certain tools already, and if I don't have some people who were able to support me during that time. So yeah, this is for real, and this is very important that you keep time between. And I would say, if it's your first time, then 6 to 12 months. That's what I would suggest, before you think about another ceremony. And another point here, I think, is that if you always you go it with an intention of healing, awakening, whatever learning, is your intention. And then I fear that when we keep going back, that demonstrates a total lack of trust in yourself, in the process, in the medicine, because this is you saying, okay, like, I don't trust that I received that. It's like, when you order something online and you just keep pressing the order button, and you are disregarding that your order was taken, it's on the way, it's being delivered to you, and that will take some time. So I often think about it this way as well. And of course, there can be exemptions from this. For example, if you are training to be somebody who is serving the medicine, that would be a big exemption out of this rule. But in general, if you are going for your own therapy purposes, then definitely have a lots of space between ceremonies. And the whole purpose of this is not to need any more ceremonies. So if you are going to the direction when you need more and more ceremonies, you are missing the point here. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the point is exactly that, is to heal and grow and learn so that we can live our lives and we don't need constant infusions of medicine. And in terms of the training, I would also say, especially in the beginning, the individual will be better served still having integration. I think once you've done a lot of the deep work with ayahuasca, then you can do ceremony after ceremony, and there's not really much personal coming up anymore. Right? To me, that's when you're really ready to train and focus on helping others. But that could be a long period of doing your own work. Even while you're training or apprenticing, you still are doing a lot of it. That is a lot of the apprenticeship, is clearing out all your personal stuff, all the stuff that gets in the way of connection with the medicine, of being able to channel the medicine, of being able to attend to other people. And you do need integration for that. And people who don't do that, I think you can have a really hard time when there is a break or when there is a pause. It can hit you all at once. And then also it doesn't give you the time to work on yourself. And so the pitfall there is that it can actually strengthen negative sides of yourself because you're not working on it. So the medicine just keeps growing in you, and like it strengthens your personhood, if you will. But you're not addressing the shadow. You're not addressing the parts that need to be addressed. So those will be there, and they'll have more force behind them, and so they can actually be more problematic. And I have seen that, even with like very developed ayahuasqueros and shamans.
Yes, this is so true. And before we go into this huge area, I want to ask our audience to let us know, like, how long do you think you need to integrate an ayahuasca experience, and what did you do to integrate your experience, or if you're preparing, what you are preparing to do after, and do you know what are the things that you should do? So let us know in the comments. And coming back to our question, I think it's really important what you shared, Alex, and this type of spiritual bypassing for people to understand that the medicine is not good or bad, because I think a lot of people feel that, oh, it's a benevolent spirit and nothing bad can come out of it, so to say. And I mean, it's like, we can't go into what is bad really means, but you understand my point here. It's really an amplifier, as you said. It amplifies both of our aspects, the shadow and the light, the good and the bad things, if you want to say that. And if you don't deal with your shadow aspects, you don't do that shadow work, that integration work, then those aspects will be magnified, right? So many times people, the medicine magnifies people ego and narcissistic tendencies. Is very common. This is one way of spiritual bypassing, is you're not doing your own work, your own shadow work, and then other aspects of your psyche get magnified, and you get into this like delusion that you don't have to work, you are beyond that work, that you let go of everything. The medicine told you that you don't have to do anything now, you don't have to drink, you don't have to come, you are like anointed, you are perfect, and now you are qualified to tell others what to do, and to create different programs, to guide people and to lead people. So this happens very often. I just released a video on social media about this, that most people come out of the ceremony, like the majority of the people think that, okay, the ayahuasca told me that I have to move to South America and open a retreat center, and that's my life purpose. So it's an overwhelming amount of people who seem to have this life purpose. And guess what? It's very small percentage who actually does, manifest that or creates that, because oftentimes we take it very literally, what we experience in the ceremony, or we project our own desires, and it's not really the guidance that you are receiving, but it's really your own, wishes and desires that you are projecting, but you cannot tell the difference, you cannot discern between the two. So, and I think that when you are doing the spiritual bypassing, it can be dangerous because you can harm others. So it's not the case that you are intentionally harming others, but it's a case of you are harming others out of ignorance, out of thinking that you are some superior person, and therefore, people put yourself into your care, and you are not, really in that position to provide that, and that can lead to harming other people. So also, when you don't do your own shadow work, and you have your own personal wounds, you are more vulnerable to intrusive energies and attacks and influences, because those are points of vulnerability for us. So the best protection is your healing and doing your own job, and to make sure that you stay on that path of the light and the heart, Otherwise, you can be very easily sidetracked from that without even you knowing it.
I think that's very true. And the people who are going down a path of wanting to, train to serve the medicine and become ayahuasca facilitators who don't do that personal work and are in that kind of egoic delusion are actually the most dangerous people. They can cause the most harm. And so it's really important that you do your own work. It's absolutely necessary. And that's the truth in any healing tradition, even in like traditional psychotherapy. When you go into training to become a therapist or a psychologist, they often the program or the school often require you to do your own therapy in the process. And the whole training is also involves looking at yourself and what comes up for you when you're helping others. And that's necessary because if you don't do that, all of your own personal stuff is going to spill out in the field between you and your client and people you're helping. So I think that's a universal principle, but in ayahuasca, it is magnified because of the power of the medicine and the amplification that happens in ceremony.
Yes, it is so true. One of my best friends, we went to school together, elementary school, and she became clinical psychologist. So she went more clinical academic route. And they have years and years of analysis. When you have to go to like 3 or 4 times a week to a therapist, I didn't even know that that's so hardcore. I mean, it's very, very, very big emphasis on obviously doing your own work. And we don't have this type of checks, in the plant medicine world. Like, how do you know if that shaman, if that people who serve did their own work or not? I think the only way to know is to know the person and to know the person by reputation and what they did, in the past and how they are regarded in their community where they live. That's why I like to work with people who preferably the community that I live in, right? That I know them and their reputation and all of that, because I think that's the only real way to really measure if that person is walking the talk or, embodying really what they are standing for, what they are talking about.
Definitely. That's a really good recommendation. That you want someone that's embedded in a community and that is regarded well and that has a good reputation within the community. Yeah.
Let us know if you ever felt after an ayahuasca ceremony that you need to open a center in Peru and help others with the medicine. And let us know if you did that. Yeah, if maybe it's a success story, and then we wanna have you on the podcast. So yeah. Another thing that I wanted to mention in terms of possible pitfalls is making huge decisions after the ceremony. And I normally advise my clients in my Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy program, which is longer than a year. It's actually 1 year, 3 months program where we have 3 months preparation. It's 1 year integration. And I advise them not to make a big life-changing decisions during that time, if possible, which I mean like divorce, selling my house, quitting my job, moving to another country, and things like that. Because, at the beginning of the process, the first couple of months especially, there is a lot of moving pieces, right? And there is a lot moving through your system, your psyche, and oftentimes, and you get many ideas, and it's true. Like I receive, like I have a whole separate book for that journal to keep those ideas, and a lot coming through, and you feel, wow, this is great. This is what I really want to do. I feel excited about that. But like a week later, like you totally forget that you even wanted that. So it's kind of a part of the process when you are emptying and processing a lot of things that are moving through you. And it's not necessarily means that you have to act upon everything that is moving through you. And my experience is that when it's something is really for you to act upon, like a type of guidance, for your path, that those things will keep coming back. Yeah, if your purpose is really to open that center and dedicate yourself to them, that will come to you over and over again until you do it. So you're not gonna miss out. Fear of missing out, FOMO. You're not gonna have to be afraid of that, because if it's something truly for you, a message or a guidance, that will keep coming to you until you understand or you notice. What do you think, what kind of negative consequences people can get if they act upon these type of ideas shortly after the ceremony, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if there's urgency, a feeling of urgency, to me, that is a sign to wait. It's actually the opposite, right? That feeling of I have to do this right now, I feel urgency around it. That usually is the amplification and the intensity of the medicine, the altered state. Things feel very salient and very important and very visceral right after ceremony. But you're best served by giving it time. Even if it's something small, wait till the urgent feeling dies down. Then you can decide you'll be in a little bit more of a balanced place, because we're not always in the most balanced place after a ceremony, especially if we've done, several ceremonies. We might still be, in the afterglow, as you said. We might still be very sensitive. We might still be very open. And that is not the best place to take those actions, to take those steps. So what can happen is you act on that urgent feeling, and you tell that person, or you make that change, or you have that meeting with your boss, and it's premature, and then you feel overexposed, or it ends up causing an issue. So you're just better off waiting and letting it settle. And for the big, like, life issues, like you mentioned, definitely wait at least several weeks. And I agree with you 100% that it will keep coming back. If it is something that needs to be addressed, it'll come up over and over again until you do. So that's not to say to sit on your hands. You should be really thinking about it, reflecting on it. You engage with it, but you don't have to act on it right away. And sometimes waiting a few weeks, it might look differently. Maybe the change that you need to make shifts a little bit, right? The emphasis is different, or maybe it's not what you thought, and actually, instead of, completely ending a relationship, it's actually more of a conversation. Or maybe you need to advocate for something else, not, end the chapter. And really the only way to know that for sure is to have that time and that space, and not rush into things. But obviously we feel a strong feeling to rush into things after ceremony, so it's understandable. But the best guidance is really to just let it simmer, sit with it, reflect on it, and give it at least a few weeks. I mean, when in the process that you're doing, that is this year-long course that's supposed to be, personality shifting and changing, and there's a lot of work being done, then you're better off waiting, till after that process is complete.
Yes, so true. Another thing came to my mind that happens quite often with this medicine, that this medicine can bring up like deeply traumatic memories for people. And I'm especially referring to like abuse, sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse, abuse within the family by family members, things like that. When something like this surfaces, like people experience a type of emotional flooding, they are obviously processing the shock factor of the experience. And sometimes in those moments, if you don't have guidance, you wanna, go and like face your family with the truth and have the conversations or whatever, when you are like really not in a space to process that with your family right now. And this can cause, even more pain, when you are acting out from these places. That's also another reason why it's important that you have a professional container and guidance in the integration, and you have support when something like this happens in your process, that somebody is supporting you to go through the process. And once you are like calm and grounded and, centered yourself, then you can decide, how you want to communicate about it, or who you want to talk to, or what you want to do about it concerning other people. But this oftentimes very difficult to do because you are emotionally in such a state when you are not thinking clearly. So let us know if anything like this ever happened to you, if anything life-changing came up for you, like what did you do to address that? Did you have somebody who could help you to process? And share with us your story. So I think it just came to my mind, Alex, as you were talking about it. So what would you say to kind of wrap it up for today is kind of the biggest failure of integration? I mean, there is no failure, maybe that's not the right word, because everything happens for a reason, right? And it's a learning experience, but in terms of if this is the purpose of integration, then you totally didn't achieve it. Like what do you think would that be? How would that look like so people can recognize that I didn't integrate at all?
Yeah, well, actually, I did want to bring up one other thing, which I think is really important, which is taking everything literally. That comes up in ceremony. I think that's an important one to highlight because it's probably the most common pitfall. So many messages, insights, visions happen in ceremony, and people who don't have experience with altered states or working with the unconscious or working with their consciousness in different ways with different traditions or practices, which most people in the kind of modern urban world don't, unless they have a past lineage or practice they work with. They can assume, and we can assume, that these are literal transmissions of truth from the divine or from the medicine, when in reality, the medicine's working with your consciousness and using everything available to try to convey meaning. But it isn't always literal or linear or obvious. It's much more like a dream. That's usually what I kind of recommend people think about it as. Like, if you had this show up in a dream, would you act on it right away as literal truth, or you'd probably sit and reflect on the dream and what could that mean, and what could that imagery mean, what could that symbolism mean? And so taking everything literally can cause a lot of problems and send you down some wrong paths. And so it's best to really, if you get whether it's a troubling or inspiring message that's symbolic or visual in nature, or insight that, it's not clear, but I got this message, spend time unpacking it and reflecting on it, and look at it from different angles. What could it mean? Because it's not always the literal definition, right? It could be symbolic, it could be metaphorical, and that will save you a lot of trouble, actually, I think.
Yeah, and I think this comes to especially, sexual abuse and this kind of stuff, because it is true that you can have like a memory fragment or something, or a visual image of maybe of a situation that actually was not happening in real life. So in this kind of situation, you just need professional support, because there are ways for therapists to see, there's other signs of these types of traumas, and you have to present, other signs, and other factors have to be in alignment with that to say that, okay, that's kind of big possibility that is true. Or we can say that, no, that's very likely that it is very symbolic and probably refers to something, because all the other factors are missing that would kind of reinforce this message. So just the message, you can't take just the message, you have to have other factors to kind of verify it. And definitely so true that with this medicine is very symbolic, and it doesn't communicate that linear way, that intellectual way that most people are used to. So it can be misinterpreted very easily. And that's what we do in the integration, making sense out of your experience. That's what really happens. There is dedicated time for that. So yeah, let us know if you received any crazy messages and if any of them came true for you. So yeah, let's go back to what does it mean? How does it look like when you fail your integration process?
I think the biggest sign that you kind of skipped the integration process and really didn't work with it is you go back to the ceremony and you get the exact same message. You go back and you're dealing with the exact same things and nothing has changed. That to me is a good sign of you didn't really do your homework when you went home. And, that's a missed opportunity, because if you do your homework, you go back, you'll get different insights, different lessons. You progress further in your life versus retreading the same material in ceremony or in the retreat. So that, I think, is a telltale sign. I've seen it many, many times. And usually it's because the person didn't make any changes at home and they didn't work with that process of, what does this mean? What do I do? How do I make these changes? And then taking action. And it's, also, to me, this is just my opinion, but it's also not respectful of the medicine, because the medicine is literally giving of itself. We're chopping down these vines to cook it. And it's a gift of its life to help us. And if we're drinking it and we're not taking action on it, you're not respecting the medicine. You're not doing your part. It's doing its part, but you're not doing your part. So I think that's a pretty telltale sign.
So beautifully said. Yeah, it's a misuse of medicine, or you can say even abuse of the medicine if you just keep drinking and not doing your part. I always say to my clients that this is a team effort. I'm here, the spirit of medicine is here, you're here, and we all have to put in 100% to get the 100% results. And the medicine did the part to expand your awareness and to show you what you need to work on. And now it's your turn to do that work. And it's my turn to help you to do that work. And then that's why I have such an amazing results in my program, because, I only take people who understand this, and who are really committed, because otherwise nothing is going to happen. And it's so true what you said, that I think that would be the biggest red flag, is just nothing really changes in your life. Like anybody who went through a real integration went through a dark night of the soul. So when I talk to people and say, yeah, I did integration already and stuff, and I'm like asking, oh, tell me about like your dark night of the soul, and they are like, well, what is that exactly? And I'm like, if you have been through it, you wouldn't ask this question. I guarantee that, you wouldn't have any doubt. Was that a dark night of the soul? You would know for sure that you passed through that. You would have a type of hero's journey experience, really, and the story, wow, this is what happened. And then I moved country and I changed profession and my relationships totally transformed. And all the people, who did this type of work have these type of stories. I have this type of story. Alex has this type of story, and that's why we can talk about it for so many hours. So if nothing changes in your life, in your relationship, if you are in the same toxic places, toxic relationship, if you are in a job that you hate, if you have the same challenges, the same pain points in your life, even though you keep going and drinking medicine, that you are missing the point, you are not doing your integration. And I recommend you stop drinking medicine immediately and dive into your integration process and get a professional guy to help you with that, and just watch your life transform from that moment, because this is what it's really about. And I think that is the gift of the medicine for me that makes these changes possible. The medicine for me made changes possible that I personally don't believe that I would have been able to make, because I couldn't access the root of my problem. For me, it was this suppressed memory into amnesia that I didn't remember, that I after 20 years of therapy in the alternative field, not like traditional psychotherapy, I still didn't reach that root. And the medicine helped me to access, that route. But I cannot tell you how much time I spent on that, how many hours of additional therapy and treatments and helpful people helped me to actually process that and what went into it so the change could be created, and it wasn't after the ceremony. Like when the whole thing went down for me, from that, I would say when things really started to positively manifest in your life, that was like a year and a half after, the whole thing, after that, all that internal work, after all that just therapy and everything that I needed to do to actually move through that and change, things in my life that will create like real change. So I always say to people in my program that don't even expect to have visible changes in the first couple of months, because all the work that you do is internal, is energetic, is emotional, is mental, so it will take time to actually manifest in your physical reality, and that's normal. And that's another reason to consider that this is a longer process. And it's possible to completely change your life. Like, go to my website, check out the testimonials on my YouTube channel. Like my previous clients, we talk for like an hour about their process, their experience, and you can see where they were and where they are now, thanks to this process and thanks to their dedication to this work, that their commitment, like I don't take clients on who are not committed 100% to do this, because I know that it's so hard, this process, that if you're not really in for it, and warrior mode, you're not going to do it. You're not going to complete it. That's why not many people do it, So if it would be just so easy, and then, right, then the whole world would just drink the medicine and happy go lucky. But it's not like that. And I think that's everything in life. In the West, we have this quick fix idea. We have this give me more, these obsessions and this type of greed. And it's the opposite, that we have to do here, to slow down, to look inside, to face, some parts of ourselves. And then if you do that, you can totally change your life. I'm like a living example of that. I grew up in communist Hungary, and I live in the Caribbean. I have my own practice. I love what I do. I never imagined, that I will do something like this. I will end up in this life. But I was so committed, to my process, and I still am. It's an ongoing thing. Here we are with Alex. We are doing this for free, to put information out, to educate people, to share our experience, because we are committed. We are passionate about this. We value this so much. That's why we are here, sharing this all with you. So let us know if this is helpful for you, if you learn any helpful tips and practices. Let us know where you are on your path, what you need help with, what you want to hear about, so we can come up with topics that you are interested in. And just connect with us through the comments. So I'm gonna just give it back to Alex to say a few words, to wrap it up. If any last message about this topic that you want to share with our audience.
That was beautifully put. I think the only thing I would say is the deeper the work that you do, that inner journey, the bigger the transformation in your life. And that really is the theme. Yeah.
Yes, so well said. Alex, do you have something in your agenda that you would like to share with people, something you are doing or offering? Do you have any places to take clients on if somebody wants to work with you because they love your approach?
Yes, absolutely. I love doing this work. So if this, feels like something you want professional help with, I'm definitely available for that. I have a website, transcendentcounsel.com. It's the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. And you are in the Bay Area?
I am. I'm in Berkeley in California.
Yes, awesome. So if you want to personally connect with Alex for therapy, then you can reach him there. I'm in Mexico if you wish to come to Mexico, but my program is online. So actually, I have a lot of people from the States and Canada. So if you're interested in my Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy program and you want to do this personal deep dive for yourself, then just connect with me through my website, avatarhealingarts.com, for a free consultation to see if this is the right match for you and this is a good, or if you feel called to join us on this path of service and to become an ayahuasca integration guide like Alex or myself, then check out the first ayahuasca integration facilitator training. We are starting next April. There is still places for the early bird, I think. I don't know when this podcast will go out, but we have an early bird price. And yeah, connect with me for a free discovery call if you wanna. If you resonate with this, if the medicine calls you to support others in their integration process, because this is the first training actually that is focusing on ayahuasca integration. So we are so excited to offer that. And there is already 4 places taken. So there's 8 more places. So if you feel the call, please connect with me and stay tuned for our next episode. Definitely we'll be back with Alex again, and leave us a comment, subscribe, share this episode, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here, Alex.
Thank you, Nina. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening, and leave a comment if you enjoyed this episode. Help us grow our community by sharing this episode with your friends and subscribe to our channel to receive the latest on Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy. To embark on your healing journey or to start a new career in Psychedelic Assisted Therapy, go to my website, avatarhealingarts.com, and get in touch. And of course, stay tuned for the next episode.